Welcome to Commander Comments. I'm your producer for the evening, Harrison, and I'm happy to introduce Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy.
Thank you, Moose. We appreciate the opportunity again to do a commander's comment and let everybody in the fine Confederation and even those in foreign countries outside Dixie, let them know what's going on in the SCV, the Sons of Confederate Veterans. We've been very busy. A lot of things going on. The commander has been on the road a lot, and I'm going to turn this over for some edification to the Confederation by our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshers.
Well, how y'all doing, Mr. Kennedy?
Doing fine, thank you, sir.
I hope everybody out there doing well. The background behind me is going to look a little different because right now I'm sitting in a hotel room in Lubbock, Texas, getting ready for the Texas Division reunion. And, we talked about this. Do we want to delay it? Do we want to do this? Do we want it? No, we're just going to go ahead and roll with it. And with technology being what it is, none of this stuff is stationary now. We can take and we can do these things on the road. It's going to look a little funny behind me. In fact, you'll probably be able to see the bed and all of that. But, just want to let y'all know that back on the road again. And we have been on the road a whole lot. First thing I'd like to start with, we had something happen right after we had Commander's comments last time, and that was the pilgrimage and the homecoming. Now, we had absolutely great weather for that event. Everybody that I talked to enjoyed everything, but everybody always had one complaint. There's only been one complaint. It appears, and it was, attendance was down this year. We were in the 90, 91 neighborhood of people being there, but the people that were there had a great time. And we had it right there at the Robert E. Lee statue. Dr. Bradley started us off. And if anybody here has ever heard Dr. Bradley speak, it's something great. Dr. Bradley did a great job. We took a little bit of a break. We went into the service. We had great music. A fella you might have heard of, Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy. He was our keynote speaker. A few people might have heard of him over the years. He was our keynote speaker. He's a very shy, very quiet, very bashful man. But he struggled through and he did an absolutely fantastic job. And then we had a lot of wreaths being laid, and we have had I think 7 or 8 live plants that were brought, and those have been planted along on the property as well. Talking with several people, I don't want to do away with the pilgrimage and homecoming. I want to give people an opportunity where they can plan on coming to this, but I realize that we might have to do something a little bit different. We might have to change it up some from year to year to where we can get the attendance, and it gives people something different to come and see. But we did have things inside the museum which were brand new. They had just put there. First of all, I'll just go ahead and say it. On Friday, while we were setting all this up, 4 more benches showed up, and they put 4 benches up on Friday, and we have 4 more on the way right now, 3 more on the way right now, and the one is the Kennedy one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Good. But explain to the folks, in case we got some folks that aren't familiar, what kind of benches are they?
Well, I sent Moose some pictures, and Moose, if you got a chance and you want to go ahead and pull those up, they're now all around the property. Well, they're all right now all the way around the Jeff Davis statue. Those little alcoves, we already have those full, and we have a good representation. These 2 are out in front of the museum. As you can see, there's beautiful and historic Elm Springs in the background. We also have the little spots right around Robert E. Lee taken up as well. The ones that are going to be coming in next, we're going to have a conversation about those. Two of them were right beside the Jeff Davis statue. We're working on a Jeff Davis Memorial Garden, and two of these are coming, and we're going to put these in the Memorial Garden. Now, I first said 4, then I said 3, and I go, no, there's 4. There's Mechanized Cavalry out of Mississippi has purchased one, so that's on the order as well. So we have 2 of them coming from Pastor Charles Jennings. Then we have the one coming from the Kennedy twins, and then we have another one coming from Mississippi SCV. So as you can see, the bench program there is moving right along. So if somebody would have come, they would have been able to see the new benches. Also, if you go inside the museum, we have the new artifacts. And if you saw the Hearth and Home episode Thursday night with Adam, in which he talked about the museum loans from the Tennessee State Museum, the 5th Tennessee flag, it's a Hardy pattern. Then we had Gideon Pillows, Lamat pistol that he carried during the war. And then we had the silver piece that they used to make all of the. Have you ever drawn a blank on something because you didn't write it down?
That's never happened to a Kennedy.
No, sir, no. Well, it just flat out happened to me. Our symbol, with George Washington on the horse. Why am I drawing a blank on
The Great
that?
Seal.
The Great Seal of the Confederacy. Thank you, sir. And they made there were 5 of these, and one of these, this is the one that come from Verena Davis, and these were used to make those Great Seals. So you could have come and then if you haven't been, you will notice that the museum has changed a tremendous amount anyway. So, but thinking about that, our attendance was down. First Saturday in May. We're still going to I want to keep having them. We just might have to figure out what we need to do to make it a little something different each time. And we'll work on that in between now and next year.
I believe there's a link to the pilgrimage. So if anybody want to watch the video of the pilgrimage, that's scrolling across the bottom right now, it's on YouTube. So that's great advertisement for us on YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. But and I want to express my appreciation to whoever did that. I don't know if that was the Moose and Connor and company, or if we had someone else doing it. But that's a great idea. We need to do more of that. Even like when we do our Stephen D. Lee presentations, we can tape them and put them out so our people can see them.
And I agree with you on that. And we're going to delve deeper into that subject here coming up. But you are right. This is great advertisement. I know that we have Connor was there, Harrison was there, Forrest were there, and they were doing a lot of the recording. I'd have to look at this video or ask them who it came from, because we also had a few other people that were there videoing as well. I noticed at one time that there were 5 different video cameras set up. So I think that gives us a good opportunity. And we did have a pretty good representation from all over the Southland, but I'd like to see us expanded on out. This is something I would like to see people look forward to coming to. And I just want to keep it going. Then I'm going to touch on, I've been traveling a lot. One of the wonderful things I got to do was I attended, there are 2 Sons of Confederate Veterans Camp in the state of Michigan. One of them is the Admiral Raphael Sims Camp, 1321, and another one is the Major General Patrick Claiborne Camp, 2557. And last year I visited with these gentlemen, and this year they invited me back, and I was more than honored to go. I just want everybody to know that you have this group of men that are up there, and they are really behind enemy lines, and they are doing a tremendous amount of work up there. Now, the two camps that are up there, neither camp is a big camp, but I want to let you know what these two camps did and presented. One of them was the Raphael Sims Camp 1321. John McLeese is their commander, and they presented two checks to me. First check they presented was when we were at a dinner, and he ended up giving me a check for $900. The picture that you see right there is the check that they presented to me the next day when I was speaking at a museum up there, and that was a check for $1,100. Raphael Sims Camp, 1321 in Michigan. They raised $2,000 to go to Forest Last Ride. So that tells you that it can be done. I mean, they're not a big camp. It's not like they're saying, hey, we're a 200, 300 member camp. They're, 30, 40 members, and they're out there getting it done. And this is their passion. This is something they're serious about. And when you're with them, you realize it, because they took me around to a cemetery and showed me Confederate soldiers that were buried in Detroit, Michigan, and how they got there. And then they showed me about this. One of the gentlemen was called a Hup, and they ended up creating the Hup Mobile, and they made this until like 1921. So you even have a Confederate veteran that was a creator of an automobile that was being made in Detroit, Michigan. And you realize our history is just fantastic. Also at the when I was speaking at the museum, the Major General Patrick Claiborne Camp, number 2257, led by Jim Perkins. And Jim Perkins is just a really cool guy. He's just a great man, and I like being around him. They asked me, and this got, we had somebody that was trying to do some genealogy, and they had this guy that he thought he had ancestry and couldn't really nail it down. So they ended up getting it to me because they knew I was coming up. And I put a fellow, which a few of you might know by the name of J.C. Hanna. J.C. Hanna, our head of our genealogy committee, put J.C. on it. J.C. got this guy an ancestor. And so I was able to go up there and swear this gentleman in as a member of our organization. And he has some very unique talents. He had come across a Smith carbine. And Moose, I think I sent you a picture of that, him presenting that, or I hope I did. If not, you let me know and I'll get it out there. It was a late 1861 or early 1862 Smith carbine. That's it right there. And we know he knows that because it is a very low 4-digit serial number. So it was made in either 1861 and 1862. A lot of the metal components have had to be worked on and replaced, but a lot of the original ones are there. And of course, he had to replace the wood as it was in extremely bad shape. But that camp, the Pat Claiborne Camp 2257, that was their donation to the museum.
Wow.
Was they bought a Smith carbine, got it, and it was actually carried, and it was carried a lot. Because you can look on the barrel where there's wear on the outside of the barrel where it rode in the scabbard. So this was a cavalry carbine. And it, $2,000 come from one camp, and another camp gave a Smith carbine.
Yes, this is a Carl Jones type of question, but did they mention to you the caliber of the bullet that fired in that Smith carbine?
They did, but I tell you what, I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to answer because I could have it wrong. Okay. But what I can do is we do have it inside the museum, and I can do some measurements on it and they tell you exactly. So I wanted to say 58, but I also handled a gun recently that wasn't a 58. It was a shotgun. and I don't want to get everything confused on this. So instead of saying the wrong thing, how about I get back with a good answer on that? So.
Well, no, it's
But
not
thank
that
you for
important.
asking.
As long as it's labeled in the museum, I'm sure they will.
Oh,
to
yes,
have
sir.
it.
It is.
And it'd be great if someone can find online some original cartridges for that thing to donate to the museum. That would be a great thing. The 58 caliber, as I recall from my reenacting years, which goes back a long way, was standard for the infield that we used. Muzzle loader. So I doubt if the carbine was 58, but I'm
Yes,
not an
sir.
expert.
And that's the reason why that I was pausing a little bit. I'm sitting here trying to run some stuff over in my mind. I'm 50 caliber sticks in my mind, but they had 52s and 54s. I could 50
That's
stuck
no
in my
big.
head, but I've touched so many other ones that I'm afraid I could tell you wrong. But we'll get. Tell you what, come to the museum. It's going to be on the placard, and you'll be able to read it for yourself. And you don't have to trust somebody who doesn't trust himself sometimes. But I just wanted to touch on what these guys up in Michigan have done. This is an absolutely wonderful job of everything, from their donation to Forrest Last Ride of $2,000 to the Patrick Claiborne camp and the Smith carbine. They have done an absolutely fantastic job, and I want to thank them for what they're doing. Moose, we'll hop on over to something else. I want to remind everybody of something that is coming up. Now, as you know, right now we're getting toward the end of reunions. In fact, I have two more reunions. I have this Texas reunion. Then I'm going to be in Alabama next weekend. And then the weekend after that, which is the third Saturday in June, is always the Forest Homecoming celebration that is held at the Nathan Bedford Forest Home in Chapel Hill, Tennessee. And I encourage people to come on up to that. Yes, we know Calvary is spelt wrong. Yes, we know that. That is just, I didn't do it. People have asked me about it, and I don't know when I've seen previous ones it was right, and this one is wrong. So we'll just have to take a look. But we all know what that Calvary means. So, but I just want to encourage everybody to come out to this. This is an absolutely great event. You're going to be, you will get to go in, as far as I know, the only home that is still standing that Nathan Bedford Forrest lived in. And you'll be able to come and see that. And that home, by the way, is owned by the Sons of Confederate Veterans. GEC National owns that property. And a fellow by the name of Gene Andrews has been the workhorse out there ever since he was asked to take it over 5, 6, 7, 8 commanders-in-chiefs ago. And he has just been a workhorse out there. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. And I also want to remind everybody about an upcoming event that is called the ATM Workshop. It's going to be held on August the 12th in Texarkana, Texas, and it is being put on by the Red Diamond Camp. Moose, I think I sent you one of those. I might have it listed down as symposium. I can't remember.
Yes, it's symposium. Yeah.
There it is. This is, and I want to thank the Red Diamond Camp for hosting these. Anybody who's ever hosted one of these knows that it's a lot of work. One of the things when I talked about when I was up in Virginia, when you see something like this done, you have to realize that it didn't just fall out of the sky, that there were people that put a lot of work and effort into this. And I want to thank the Red Diamond Camp for putting this on, and I'm looking forward to being there. And I believe that I see, let's see, I believe I saw the Kennedy twins were going to be speakers there.
Yep,
So
we'll be there, and we'll be following you. So we'll It's going to be a tough act to follow, but we'll do our best. But I tell you what, the whole thing is worth it, not just to hear the Commander-in-Chief, but to hear Eric Pavetti do his thing for the adjutant training and the questions that you get about forms and how to get things done through national. Eric just does a great job on that. And I've been to several of these training sessions, and it's worth it just to have him there. And by the way, in case we've got some people who don't know, that flag up in the left-hand corner, that's the Taylor flag.
Yep, that's the Richard Taylor flag. And yes, I want to thank the Red Diamond Camp for putting this on. And I'm going to I'm going to parrot what he has said about Eric Pavetti's program here. I have heard it multiple times. This is a lot of the commander and adjutant training that you can take the classes for. It will help each of the commanders and each of the adjutants to be able to do their job easier, better, and more thorough. We have this piece called Salesforce, and I'm the adjutant of my camp. I'll just go ahead and tell you. And I sat down, and I've already got stacks of MRS statements that have already come in. I just sat down and pay all my national dues online. If I need to make any address changes, I can make them. Stuff that gets kicked back, I'm able to fix it. And Eric can walk you through all of this, and he'll walk you through everything that you need to be able to do the business of your camp. And there comes a time we have to treat this as a business. And I know it's emotional to us. I know it's personal, but we still have to treat this as a business and do the things that we need to do to keep ourselves active and going on. So, yes, listen to the two Kennedys and listen to Eric Pavetti so you can show up late and catch them three, and you'll be good.
No, you got to hear the commander.
I believe they said it's going to start at 9:00. I just saw that pop up there. I think it's going to run from 9 until 4. And you can, if you need to, Moose, you can pop that back up and talk about it, because right now I've been talking now for about 20 minutes, and I was going to turn this over to Mr. Kennedy to talk about something that he has worked on, him and his brother have worked on. And it is fruitful what they have done, extremely fruitful. Would you please talk about the polls, sir?
Yes, sir, I sure will. Thank you. This is something that's, again, it hadn't just been the Kennedys. It's been Commander Boshers and the folks at National. We've all been working on it. We had commissioned the Kaplan Group to do the poll for us. And now we've got the results. By the way, we have sent out, I'm sure all the members of the GEC, the voting members GEC, they've got their copies by now, I do believe. Isn't that correct, Commander? So
yes, sir. They should have all gone out ending part of last week, first part of this week.
All right. And it's quite an extensive poll. What we did basically was we wanted to find out from conservative Southerners, so 16 Southern states, and to find out, do you voting conservatives think that your politicians are doing enough to protect our traditional American values, which include the values of our Confederates as well? And the polls came back, and there's a summary which says, let me get the exact number. I should have had this at my fingertips. 85% said we need to preserve our monuments, our heritage, our traditional values Southwide. Now, in this, there's a breakdown state by state. So I will be sending out to all the division commanders of each state the data for their particular state, as well as the summary. And looking at that again this afternoon, the lowest was 81% want to do more, want to protect the highest was 90%. I believe Tennessee was one of the 90s too. And so it might surprise you to when you find out, to look at your state to see where it stands, but it tells you that we've got more work to do. We've got the support of the people who elect our officials, but we've got to get this information to them. And that's our next step. Now, doing the poll means nothing. What we got to do is get the information out to the people. First of all, I'm sure that we'll be sending out probably next week the news release, and we'll also be getting the one-click politics. Now, I don't want to pressure the commander because he's on the road so much, but we're depending on him to get the one-click politics up so that we can get this information, and we'll have a little short thing to tell you about the information that you can put on the one-click politics, and give them a link that they can then go to and look at the summary report, which is on the Confederate Legion website. But the important thing is that we've got to get the national conservative elected officials and the local states. So you take, I know the commander goes up to on several occasions to the Capitol in Nashville to talk to the state legislators. Well, so do the people in Georgia, so do the people in Virginia, all of our southern states. So we want to get this information to every elected, quote, conservative, which means Republican. We could discuss about conservative or not, but we know that those are the ones that are most likely to be in favor of protecting our true American traditional values. We want to get this information to them, and that's going to be the responsibility of every camp and every camp member. So the division commanders are going to push it down, the brigade commanders are going to push it down, and then the camp commanders at your camp meetings, you've got to get your members on board with getting on the one-click politics. Put your name in, your email, your zip code, and send this message to the folks in Washington if you have Republican or moderate Democrats that represent you in Washington. Get that message to them, and then go to the one click to make sure that it goes also to your elected representative. Now, the one click does all the work for you. It's easy, it's quick, it's a terrific way that we can really make a mass attack against the left that's been telling slanderous lies about our heritage, about the truth, about what our Confederate ancestors was fighting for. This is a great step in the right direction, but it totally depends upon the camps and the camp members utilizing the tools that we purchased and we paid for and we're passing down to you to use. And listen, don't just stop with your state legislators. I won't call any names, but I was somewhere recently and they said, our governor, he's already said that he's not going to deal with anything having to do with the Confederate. And he was a Republican. Well, that gentleman, I had to watch myself. That gentleman should get one of these from every SCV member in that state. Let him know that the people that elected him by an 80, in that state, it was like an 87% margin, expect them to do more to protect our traditional American values. So this is a great thing, but don't forget about your mayors, your county commissioners, the dog catcher, the sheriff, anyone that's elected who it may be friendly to our cause. Send it to them. It won't cost you anything to do. You may have to send those by emails, because I don't know if we can get drilled down at this point, this close time, to the local county level, but we can do it through the national and the state level, and that will have a tremendous impact when we go to the legislature. Say here in Louisiana, we go back to our legislature, we're want a certain bill to be passed or a certain bill to be killed. we'll get a lot more respect from these people. They'll listen to us now, or as Commander says, they'll either smile because you're coming, they know you, or else they'll eye roll and say, oh my God, there's those Confederates again. I got to treat them nice because they got a big wad of people behind them. So that's our big thing, and that's coming up real soon. Probably next week, you'll be hearing from us. It'll be on the Telegraph. So if you're not on the Telegraph, get on the Telegraph. I'll send stuff out on the Confederate Legion newsletter. And we're getting. And by the way, any of our GEC members, the councilmen and the Army commanders, you make sure you are in contact with your various division commanders, that they're pushing this information down as well. Again, just doing the study is a great thing, but it means nothing if we don't get this information into the hands of those people who are decision makers. That is the politicians. Let me tell you a quick thing. I was at a meeting south of Atlanta, Georgia, a bunch of pro-Confederates, and one guy came up to me after my talk, mainly based on one of my books, but about doing irregular political warfare. And he said, you know, do you remember Everett Dirksen? Now, probably nobody in here that was born probably after 1955 remembers old enough to remember Eric Dirksen. Dial and I do, but he was a Democrat from Illinois, I believe. He and Reagan were good friends. That was back in the days when they could talk to each other and be civil, Republicans and Democrats. But he said, look, people come to me all the time, want me to support this bill or kill this bill. But listen, they say, Everett, you got to see the light. This bill is bad or this bill is good. And he said, look, I see the light when I feel the heat. It's our job to make these elected officials who are supposedly our friends, who are supposedly representing the conservative belief, it's time that we make them feel the heat. And that's what this is all about. Okay, I filibustered enough on that.
And I just want to, yes, I'm going to ask y'all to please use this. It's going to be real simple. When the link comes out, you'll click on the link. All you'll have to do is enter your name and address. Based off your address, it is going to know who to send it to. And this is going to be already a statement that is prepared. Now, we're not going to put words in your mouth. We've prepared the statement. If you read the statement and you're good with it, then just go ahead and push it on out. If you read the statement and go, well, I would like to say this or that, then I'm encouraging you to do that. But the one thing that we must do with this is we must be extremely civil Southern gentlemen. Absolutely. No foul language, no accusing, no belittling. I was told a long time ago that if you cannot state your opinion without damaging, or he didn't say damaging, without swearing at someone or belittling someone, you don't have a good opinion. So you need to learn how to handle your opinion. So, and I'm going to ask y'all to please do that. And I support what the Kennedys are doing. This is food for us as we go to move forward with everything that we're talking about doing. The polls that show that Americans are still wanting to be the Americans that the founding fathers created. This is our attempt at keeping our nation's history alive. Did you have anything else you would like to add to that, sir?
Oh, no, you said it very succinctly. As my mama used to say, remember, boys, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And we're trying to catch conservative flies that are flying off toward the left. You don't catch them by harassing them and telling them you're going to vote them out of office. Now, that day may come, but right now we're trying to develop a rapport with them, a positive rapport. You want to tell us about your visit to Morristown?
Well, yes, sir. If you want to, we'll talk about Morristown. I'm going to go back several years, and I'm going to mention some people from our past. A lot of people that have been longtime members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans will remember a fellow by the name of Brian Sharp. His nickname was Squirrel, and he worked there at General Headquarters. And at that time, we did a tremendous amount of work with several publications, and like the Civil War Courier and the Camp Chase Gazette. If you've noticed that, I don't know, over the last few years, that relationship has seemed to have gone away. When what happened, and this is a cause and effect. People say, well, where did this come from? This was a cause and effect. When the ad come out in the Epoch Times, and people I've told on here before, there were two couples that came and they saw the ad in Epoch Times. One of them was from outside Pittsburgh. Another one was, I drive through that subdivision to get to Elm Springs. They're 2 miles away, and they never knew anything at all about it. But when they came and did that, I'll go, we're having success. Advertising is working. And I have been talking to past Tennessee Division Commander Mike Beck for some time about getting back involved with, that he knows the gentleman up in Morristown. He's from up in that area, and he knows the publications and he knows the company. And myself, I talked to Mike, and I reached out to the Kennedy twins, and your twin brother, our Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, said, let's go up there and let's see what is going to be talked about. And it was a very fruitful deal on many levels. First of all, we got a personal tour of the General Longstreet Museum up there. And Moose, do you have a picture up there? If not, I got one of their rack cards right here. We have these rack cards there. Yeah, he's got the rack card up. They took us through there. Now this is a very Confederate friendly, Confederate minded museum, but they're also telling the true and accurate story, but they're telling it in the complete story. And this museum, we're going to work with them. They're going to work with us. They have our rack cards at their museum. We have theirs with ours. And they actually have some very good events coming up. There's one actually coming up this coming weekend, in which they have this gentleman that is going to be there at the Longstreet Museum. I think I sent you that also, Moose. Yes, that's the back of that. That is the Civil War Trails marker that is there, and it talks about Bethesda Church. And Moose, do you have the one that they're doing there's a guy that's going to come and speak at the Longstreet Museum. I thought I sent that to you. If you notice, I've sent a lot of things to Moose. But what is they're going to have a great event coming up this coming weekend, and it's a well-known speaker and a well-known author that is going to be up there talking, and they're expecting a big crowd out of that. And I just wanted to push them because we're all going to need to work together, pushing each other. We're going to need to talk about them. They're going to need to talk about us. And I've taken the Longstreet Museum rack cards, and I've put them James K. Polk home, put them at the Athenaeum, all around Columbia. And he's taking them, and they're taking them, and they're putting our rack cards, the museum rack cards, and the old Elm Springs rack cards, and they're placing these around. So no, we're actually doing a new one of these. This one is just about the house, but we also have new ones on the museum as well, and they're getting all of these pushed out. Yes, David Pope, thank you. I just saw that pop up. Bill Landry, he is a very well-known East Tennessee historian, and that's going to be a great event for them. Also, Moose, inside, there's a picture inside the museum that has your brother and myself and Mike Beck and Jordy Burdett, and we're looking at a statue. because they're doing a fundraiser. Yes, that is the statue that they're raising to put up. The statue itself comes from Monuments Across Dixie. It is one of 3 replicas of the monument that was in Durham, North Carolina. The base they're wanting to put it on, and they're wanting to put it at the Longstreet Museum. The base will be 8 feet tall, and the statue will be 6. So this is going to be, right now they're in a deal where they're widening the roads. There's a UDC monument they're working to bring to there as well. And all of this is going to be placed on a thoroughfare going through the center of town. Right now they've already raised some money, but I think they're going to need $4,000 to get the project completed. And I told them, for all the work that they're doing up there, that this is a wonderful idea, and I wanted to talk about it and promote it on here. You'll notice Don Kennedy there on the left. Judge Tipton is behind me. And then there's Jordy talking about the statue. Mike Beck is behind him. That's past Tennessee Division commander. And to the side of him is David Chaltis. So I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that this is out there. That's a close-up of the statue. Now, that was some of the things we found out by going up there and visiting with them. And then we sat down and we talked with the group that is the Civil War, the Lakeway Publishing Group. And we're talking to them now. They sent us an ad list and the prices for that. They're going to drop off Civil War Courier magazines for us to give out, and some Camp Chase Gazettes. They want to advertise with us. We want to advertise with them. They want us to give articles, so their publication will continue on, and we want to continue on as well. So we're wanting ads from them. And we want all these events and promote it. And then they'll talk about being able to promote our news releases, which, as you know, and Mr. Kennedy here can tell you, we put these out and they don't get picked up. If we could start getting these things picked up, we would do get our word out so much better. And this might be an opportunity for us to do that. And I know from the success from Epic Times that this is telling me that this is what's going to end up happening, that we're going to need to work with them to get this out, for us to be able to work together and to get our messages out like we need to. And that was a great event. Did your brother mention very much about it?
Yes, he was very excited about it. And he said that it was his impression that they have contacts with about 7 or 8 newspapers, where there's weekly or daily newspapers around the area. And they can't guarantee that they'll carry our news release, but when we send it, they'll disperse it to them. And since they have a working relationship with those newspapers, it's always a better chance. In the publishing business, we call it, when manuscripts come in, we say over the transom, like somebody just threw it in over it and you find it on your floor. It might be worth dealing with, but it's much better when it comes through a known entity. And so Donald was very excited about that. And if I may, anyone listening to me, check in your state if you have a press association in your state, and if they will accept news releases and disperse them to people that are members of. And most of these will charge. I looked at Louisiana back a while, and it seems like for $100 they'll send out your news release if they'll accept it. Now, some of them, they'll look and say, oh, Confederate, no, I won't do it. But some will. So we've got to find out who will and who will not, even for the coin of the realm. So if you are in Georgia, Florida, wherever you are, if you can Google and find out, or if you have better than that, direct contact with news people who are part of the press association in your state, get that information to the commander or myself, because we want to try to get as many of these as we can and give them an opportunity to turn us down.
Oh, yes, and we just need to work together. That's one of the things that I've tried my best to do, is to get all these organizations working together. And this is an opportunity for us to work with them. They have supported us in the past. They seem very positive about supporting us in the future. And we want to advertise with them. We want to work with them. And, it's just another opportunity of things we're trying to do for our memberships. Before we get into very much more about some other trips on the road, the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about, just for briefly, the Louisiana Division reunion, because I went to that. It was a very good reunion. I had a great time. Had at their welcome on Friday night, I had the best meat pies I ever had in my life. It was, I'm thinking, how in the world can I get these up in Tennessee? They were absolutely fantastic. And it was a great reunion. It was great fellowship. I had a great time. I was honored to be their speaker at their banquet on Saturday night. And it was just a great deal. But I just wanted to thank Louisiana for inviting me to come and to be the speaker on Saturday night. While you and I were in Virginia, and we'll talk about Virginia, your brother was in Kentucky. And from what I understand, Kentucky had a very good reunion. I haven't talked to anybody directly. I've just heard from your brother. Your brother was there, said he had a great time. Has he filled you in on anything going on?
Well, we've been sort of missing each other. We've been working, trying to get caught up from being on the road. But he was very excited, met a lot of old friends at, that is not age-wise old, but friends he'd known for a good while in Kentucky. He also, some new young blood, and there's some parks that they're working on there. So it's some really exciting things going on. Moose, do you have a picture of Donald? And I think also somebody from the I'm sorry, somebody from the Army of Tennessee, and also Kyle Thompson, the division commander in Kentucky. So Jimmy Hill's looking good there. I won't say much for my twin brother, but Jimmy Hill's looking good. So they had a great time in Kentucky. And again, Kentucky's doing a great job, and we appreciate them. And maybe one day they'll invite Ron to come up there. I think Donald gets up there, and they said that's all the Kennedys we can stand. So,
well, we can ask. How about that? We can ask.
What about the mega flag? That was a great event.
Boy, it was. First of all, I want to. Do we need to go to commercial? Take that Pop-Tart break, because we're already at 48 minutes.
Right.
Moose, are you ready to go to commercial? If you do, just take us away. If not,
yes, we can go ahead and go to our commercial break. Let me get everything plugged in real quickly. And of course, tonight's commercial break is sponsored by the great new Kennedy book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is about how Jefferson Davis was a leader of the high road to emancipation. He looked for a day in which slaves would be able to participate and live in society. He did more than advocate for this high road to emancipation, though. He practiced his beliefs in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves. Many of his former slaves left for prosperity, and their testimony about their master would prepare them to be self-sustaining members of society. You're going to get the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores. Link is in the chat below. And we want to thank the Kennedy Twins again for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart Break.
There is a place, nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
All right, I love that ad. I tell you, I want to get that on Newsmax. I can't wait. We're gonna make it yet. You just wait. All right, you want to cover the great event we had up in Virginia?
Yes. How this all came to be, or at least me finding out about it, was I was flipping through Facebook and I saw it on there, and I'd like to be part of that, you know. And then I went to their website and I took a look, and I saw that all that they were offering, and this was it was put on by the Stonewall Brigade camp and the Virginia Division and the Virginia Flaggers. And they have this place up there. It's off I-81, mile marker 200. And it is a mega flag park. Right now, they currently have 2 acres. They have one large pole. I think they told us it was an 80-footer that flies a 20 by 20 flag. And then they had 5 other poles that were down through there. They were 25-footers. And I reached out to a fellow by the name of Andy Schindler, who was this wonderful guy to work with. And we went back and forth. And I asked him about the possibility of that. He mentioned about, the GEC, General Executive Council, National SCV could vote to donate or fund one of those flagpoles. And it was $2,500. And we get to fly our company logo flag on there. And there is a picture of us after we raised that flag. So anybody who comes by and sees this, and I'm going to turn this over to you because we talked about how much you could see those flags when you went by. And it was a great event. It really was. Reverend Dr. Herman White was there. He was keynote. He did a fantastic job. Everybody that was there had an absolutely great time. You had the gentleman, John Hill, that is a direct descendant of A.P. Hill or a descendant of A.P. Hill. He was there. We were talking with him about everything he has going on. And while we're right there, I want to take Moose, could you show this? Lee rides again. This is you have a camp that is up in Virginia. They're the Gordonsville Gray Camp, 2301. And the Robert E. Lee statue that has stood on Monument Avenue, they want to create a replica of that to place on this mega flag site. And I see the mock-up that they have, and it is absolutely wonderful. Moose, if you will show the backside, yes, these are the places that if this is something you want to contribute to, you have I-81, mile marker 200. It is right there. I sat there because they had hamburgers and hot dogs. So I was sitting there eating a hamburger and a hot dog, and I set my clock for 1 minute, and I counted cars going in one direction, 43 cars in 1 minute. When you figure the other side like that, 86 cars a minute will be passing up and down through there. You know, you could be talking about as many as 1.2 million cars a day we'll be able to see. Not a day, excuse me, a month or a week. I can't remember my math now. But you're looking at 1.2 million people a week. And sitting there doing the math in my head, 1.2 million people a week would be able to see this. And, you know, this is a wonderful thing. Everybody had a great time. Now, Mr. Kennedy, I want you to talk about it. And thank you for coming with me.
Oh, well, thank you for putting up with Kennedy all the way up and all the way back to Nashville. God love you. You had to put up with Donald the first part of the week and me the second part. You are a true trooper. But I wanted to say that monument replica of the Lee Monument, and I think it's going to be exact scale monument replica. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's going to be there at the park.
Yes.
All right. I don't know how many people know this or not, but when that original monument of Lee was brought into Richmond, the people, they were going to have horses pull that monument. You know, that was back before tractors, you know, so they had horses put, but the people in mass came out and unhooked the horses' traces, attached ropes to it, and the population of Richmond pulled that monument through the street to the place where it would be set. And I believe it was Dr. R.A. Dabney who made a comment when he saw that with tears in his eyes. He said, "There's life in the Old Dominion yet." And I'm telling you, the feeling I got from watching and listening and talking to those fine people up there in Virginia, there's life in the Old Dominion yet. It's not dead, but it's also life in the Dixie. Every time we put up a flag, every time we put up a monument, every time we put an ad on the radio, every time we purchase ads in our newspapers, hand out Dixie Defenders, I'm telling you, there's life in the Old Dominion. There's life in Dixie yet. And I left there just totally excited about the whole event. And I just congratulate our compatriots in Virginia for a fine job that they did.
Absolutely. If you did not leave there invigorated, I don't know where your soul is, because just being there with everybody, how everybody was working together, how the Southern cause, what makes Southerners Southerners, it was alive and brilliant and beautiful on that day. And I want to thank everybody that made it happen. The Stonewall Brigade camp, y'all were the boots on the ground. Y'all were where the rubber meets the road, and you did an absolutely fantastic job of it. Talking with Tony Griffin and working with Tony Griffin, the Virginia Division Commander, he's talking to me about all of these things that Virginia is doing and everything they're been involved in, and him being there to raise the Virginia Division flag. And then, you know, Virginia flaggers were there. Susan Lee was there. She gave a wonderful talk. And just to be part of seeing that mega flag go up. And it was a windy day on that hill in Virginia, and the wind caught it and snapped that flag too. And it was a beautiful sight to see. And I'm thrilled. I was honored to be there, and I thank you for coming with me. And I appreciate everybody in Virginia for what they've done. They prove that it can be done. And think about what they have been through with Richmond being 100 miles away. and in their state and where they were there in Lexington, everything that they've had to deal with Stonewall Jackson and the threats and the colleges deal and everything that is going on there, they have stood the ground and they go and they do something like this. See, this is what happens when you just do what your heart and your soul tells you to do and what you should be doing. And you don't listen to the naysayers and you don't argue amongst yourselves. You just say, this is what we're going to do. And you go out and you do it. And I thank them for what they have done. And I'm sure that part's going to continue to grow. Now, can you imagine what it would be like if you have a replica of the Lee statue from Monument Avenue? That's going to be a heck of a sight.
I want to be there when they put that up, if the good Lord keeps me on this earth that long.
Yes.
All right. So we're at the 8:01 time. You want to go over some of the Saturday events at the Southern Heritage Center that's coming up?
Yes. First of all, we're going to be open this weekend. June 3rd, open from 9 until 2. If you have an opportunity, come on out and see the museum. I'll go ahead and say this. Last time we were open, we had the pilgrimage and the homecoming, and then we were open another time, and we didn't hardly have anybody come in. So if you're planning on coming, June 3rd, we're going to be open. July 29th, we have the cruise in. Museum's going to be open. House is going to be open. August 19th, a night at the museum. You'll be able to come through and tour the museum then. September 9th, we're going to be open. October 7th with the GEC meeting. November 11th, and that's Veterans Day. And the first weekend in December, which is the Christmas tour. You'll be able to come and you'll be able to tour the home. You'll be able to tour the museum. They'll be open for tours, and you can buy a ticket to go do some other homes in the Murray County Tour of Homes. But I just want to keep everybody abreast of everything that's going on at HQ. We are hearing a lot of good things. We're looking forward to July 29th and the Rebel Rouser Cruise In. This was one of our bigger events from last year. And remember, these are car show guys. You know, these are hot rodders. These are, car nuts, and they came and they had a great time, and they left there with a perception of what the Sons of Confederate Veterans and the National Confederate Museum is. And it was a very positive note. And these are, they're not necessarily our guys, but they left there with that impression. So
they're not our guys, but they are our supporters or potential supporters. And that's the thing. I'm not into automobiles like I was when I was a teenager in high school. So that doesn't interest me. But I still support them and what they're doing, and they may not be interested in reenacting or our Southern Heritage movement, but they will support us. They'll vote with the right candidates, and they may even give money to us. So that's important. Could I take a moment of special privilege to thank Moose for what he's doing, not only here, but also this weekend? He'll be running the show at Beauvoir there in Gulfport. And Donald and I will be speaking there on Jefferson Davis's birthday, a great celebration for President Davis's birthday. Anybody down in Gulfport, Biloxi, Hattiesburg, New Orleans, Mobile area, come on down and see us there at Beauvoir.
Yes, sir. And yes, Moose does deserve a lot of credit. He really does. He's been a stalwart for us. He might actually have an LT Commander-in-Chief coin headed his way. We shall see. If you don't mind, I'm going to give a quick update on Arlington. Well,
like I would object to the commander just doing anything. But yes, not everybody, a lot of people really want to know what the update is on.
Oh, yes. As you know, we were in a holding pattern. We had the open forum, and we had some people that spoke. I think if y'all remember my commander's comments right after that happened, I told you that there was nobody that spoke out for removing it or renaming or anything. Everybody that spoke out was, let's just leave everything the way that it is. They said they were going to go into their NEPA deal. There have been some letters that have been sent out, and it says that the federal government is going to continue with their NEPA deal. They have to do this. It's a nice National Environmental Protection Act. What they have to do these studies to see what the impact is going to be, and when they had their conversation and they had the open forum, the people that were conducting that said it was going to take them 8 or 9 months. Well, we were 2 months, maybe 3 months. I don't think it's been 3, but it's probably been better than 2. It was going to be an 8 or 9 month program that they were going to be getting back with us. And judging how this NEPA deal stuff, it could be longer than that. I guess what I'm coming on here and saying is they're still involved in their NEPA stuff, and I'm starting to hear that it could take longer than what we were thinking. This could be going into next year. Don't worry, we're keeping an eye on everything. We have a lot of people that are communicating with us, and we're going to keep an eye on it. But this could be a while before we ever come to really any kind of news on any of this. So I ask that everybody to be patient, and that as soon as something does come out, you will know. You'll probably see it on SCV chat before you see it anywhere else. So stay tuned. This is going to be one of those things that when we do hear something, you will know something.
And this is a good point to make, a good time to make the point that our one-click politics stuff that we're sending out next week, it goes to all the conservatives who are elected from the South. This is one more way to remind the elected officials. And again, the elected officials can make these people feel the heat. So that's why we must participate in getting this information out that we send out when the commander sends out the one-click politics on our poll results. These representatives and senators need to understand that we expect them to protect our heritage, and Arlington is a key part of that heritage.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, I think we're about wrapped up. We have one more thing that we want to talk about. Then I'm going to open the floor to you. See if there's something that you want to talk about. But I'd like to talk about the upcoming SCV National Reunion. As you know, it's going to be July 19th through 22nd in a place called Little Rock, Arkansas. Hot Springs, not Little Rock. Hot Springs. Have you ever misspoken? That's the reason why you take better notes. It is Hot Springs.
You just gave Lloyd Mock a heart attack.
Yes. Sorry about that, Lloyd. That was my fault. My bad. I corrected it. And I know it's Hot Springs. I know that. I just had one of those senior moments. From what I understand, things are moving along very well on that. I also heard some scuttlebutt that some of the hotels starting to fill up. And if you have not made your hotel rooms, you need to be making your hotel rooms. You need to get your rooms booked, so you can stay right there at the Arlington, where everything's going to be going on. One of the things that so far that I've already been a little disappointed on was the cadet program. There's been a gentleman out of Florida by the name of Brian Turner who has pushed. And he's done a wonderful job. He's been at it hard and heavy about the cadet program. And there were no cadets that have been registered so far. So he has had to back off on that plan of having the cadet program there. I should look at what Carl Jones said. pop up what Carl Jones said. If you don't mind, Moose, pop up what Carl said. Yes, we booked around, and I'm having my wife change it to Little Rock. Yeah, thank you for that, Carl. You just do that, okay, buddy? You'll probably end up having a room down there with another fella too, maybe the son of Harold Philpott. But you know, this cadet program, it's the future of our organization, and we're looking at our cadet numbers over the years at National, and it is starting to decline. It has been declining. And I appreciate Brian Turner for stepping up and wanting to be a bigger part of this and to, you know, get this going. Nobody registered. So this is going to be one of those things that we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it on Thursday during our business session and talk about the cadet program and what we can do to get the cadet program back going. And we all know what it's going to be. It's going to be fathers signing up their sons, and it's going to be grandfathers signing up their grandsons. We all know that's what it's going to be. So that's what we need to be focused on to get it. This is a huge part of the future of our organization, is to get people involved. And I'm just going to go ahead and say the way that it is. You get these kids involved and you get them active, and they are members and they're doing stuff, and they go to hit the teenage years. And we all know it's going to be perfume and gasoline for a little while. And then they're getting a job. Then they are buying a home. Then they are raising a family. When they'll reach this time later in their life, and they will say, I think I want to go back to that. And then they'll bring their kid. If you never have that exposure, they're not going to know that we're there. At least get them the exposure, please. And this program, I'm going to push this program because I believe in what Brian Turner was doing. Him and I talked. I hate that it didn't happen. We've already gone and had to change the plans. But let's work on this in the future.
Right.
Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
No, well, yeah, you should never ask a Kennedy that, but no, I think we've covered things pretty well. I do think that the cadet program needs to be really emphasized. We've got to get fathers and grandfathers bringing their sons and grandsons into it. I don't know if the Sam Davis Youth Camp is something that goes along with that. I know Donald's been involved with it, so I don't know, but perhaps that's something we need to look at. But that's another discussion that we need to have.
They're kind of two separate things. The Sam Davis Youth Camp is their own group doing this, and I know that SCV is involved, and that's some SCV camps and divisions are involved, and that's fine. But this cadet program is part of our membership program, and right. So it's kind of two separate deals. But
I'm thinking that may be an area that we can attract some cadets. So that might
we have to give them something to do, and the thing is, we have to give them something to do. Yeah. And if we don't, then they're not going to be interested in coming. I think we're going to have to do for a little while in the Tennessee division. I was newsletter editor, and we did a special edition for cadets when we printed our division newsletter. And instead of having just a regular articles, because then, 5-6-year-old, he's not going to read, the articles. But if we put crossword puzzles, we put fill in the blanks, we created these, and we'd print like a 4-page, 8-page newsletter, and we mailed it out when we mailed out the other division newsletters, and we had good response from them. We'd tell the little stories in there, the short page, half page or page stories about, or Sam Davis or some other kind of kid hero, and, to promote them and to encourage them. But we had to do something to get them involved. Because if they just get if they get the newsletter or whatever they get and it's nothing for them, then they're not going to stay interested. So we have to do something to get them interested.
Yeah, we need to talk to Connor and Moose about setting up some type of online game and a Confederate quote Civil War gaming or something that they can attract the young people. Listen, we've gone well beyond our time limit. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in. Be sure to share this, and I'm sure, there we go, share this episode and tune in Monday for SEV Chat. And Moose, we want to thank you for your really, you're our producer, and we thank you for being behind the screen and taking care of this. Commander Boshers, be careful there in Texas. I understand those Texicans like to eat barbecue, so be careful. They might overfeed you while you're there. But they've always treated the Kennedy twins to a lot of good food and a lot of good time. You're going to have that. I'll be in the Mississippi Division week after next, back at Beaubois again. And I think Donald and I will be in South Carolina in June, right before the Sam Davis, not Sam Davis, I get it right in a minute, Forest Boyhood Home meeting. So that's hopefully we'll soon be ready to go to the reunion. To everyone for tuning in, thanks a lot. And Moose, you can take it away.